Well, yesterday was a very special day for Dennis, one of the followers of my channel. He took possession of his brand new Model Y. Performance, white, dual motor, lives out in Coquitlam. He invited me around to come and look at it and perhaps feature it on the channel. So I'm headed there right now. When we get there, I'm going to let him tell you all about it. In the words of the inimitable William Shakespeare, to why or not to why? That is the question. Well, I'm sure he'll forgive me for corrupting his original quotation, but the Model Y, yes or no? Upgrade from the 3, yes or no? Wait for something else to come? Yes? No? So, Model Y, to be or not to be? I had the wonderful opportunity to drive out to Coquitlam and visit a friend of the channel called Dennis, and Dennis had just taken possession of his new Model Y, offered me the opportunity to look it over, to do a review, to video, to answer some questions, and that's the content of today's video. Of course, it raises the question, am I going to upgrade to the Model Y? Let's get out and see the car first of all. Let me tell you how I experienced it. Let me tell you how I enjoyed it. And when we get back to the studio, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about whether you should upgrade, or if this is your first Tesla, is this the perfect vehicle to get? And I've got some very, very decided views on that topic. So let's get out there now and go and see the car.
Well, I got the Model 3 back in June 2018, just like yourself did. And the car itself, I always liked Tesla. I still remember Tesla from back in the days, even when Elon had the first Roadster. I remember hearing about the company. So I've been following the company for years. But the S and X for me were always way too expensive. So once the Model 3 came out, I thought that was a good opportunity to buy a car that I would enjoy that's electric. And so when it came out, I put my order in, waited patiently like everybody else, and then got the car at that time. Even when I bought the Model 3 just over 2 years ago, I never intended on keeping it. For me, that was just a car to get me to get to this car. This is the one I've always wanted. So the 3 was just, like I said, just a stopgap to get to this one, because I've always liked the bigger vehicles. I've always liked having more room. Sedans have never been the kind of car that I prefer. So I always wanted like this type of vehicle. So as soon as this one became available, I sold the Model 3 to a nice gentleman who lives in New Westminster, who's using it for long distance driving, and then now I can have this one for myself to enjoy for the next few years. Oh, this one's pretty new. I only picked it up yesterday, so it's hard to tell exactly, but you know what? It very, very little in any difference. You know, of course, this one has more power than the Model 3 has, but when actual driving or the steering wheel, the brakes, the regen braking, it feels almost identical. It's just the only difference is you don't see the hood on this car, and when you look through the rearview mirror, it looks different. But sitting in the driver's seat, it feels pretty much exactly the same. It was exactly like yours. It had the black interior. At that time, you only could get the rear-wheel drive long-range battery, which is now discontinued. And so that's what it was. It wasn't the four-wheel drive version of it. Yes, and because you know, if we want to take friends out, whatever, we have more room. I go to the States quite often, or used to, anyways. And it's nice that we have 4 people and have more room for our luggage or things that we buy. It has more usability of space than the sedan does. That was actually one of the hardest decisions, the actual color. I really love the red color on the Model 3, but it's on this one, it's a little overbearing because it's quite a bit bigger. It's actually, until you actually see the car, you don't realize how much bigger it actually is. And like I said, I wanted to keep a car for a long time, and I wanted a car that doesn't show as much dirt, because the red is almost like black. It shows every speck. This one here, you know, white cars tend to hide your dirt a little better, so that's why I decided to go with the white.
So So we'll take a quick walk around the car, and you can see the back end is a lot bigger. But the lines are streamlined. As you walk forward toward the front of the car, it's typical Model 3 streamlining, and from the front it looks just like a Model 3. You'd be forgiven for thinking it was. Lights just chirped there as it locked. So, beautiful profile, but from the front, very, very familiar. Now we'll move down to the back end of the car again, because this bears a second look. And you'll notice right away that the height of that trunk is very different from the Model 3. The area at the back that is at the lower edge is covered by a plastic kind of a fender or spoiler. The moniker at the back says dual motor. The red line below means performance version. And what a beautiful carbon fiber spoiler on the top edge of the trunk. Just a beautiful touch. From the side, you can see that the car is taller, definitely higher. The wheels absolutely make it. I'll say more about those later on. One of the big differences is the chrome delete. No more chrome surrounding the windows and below the side mirrors and the repeater cameras. All beautiful black. These are the beautiful and very sporty Uber turbine wheels. They are a little bit more expensive, but they look absolutely cool. So looking at the rear seats, and you can see that the middle seat is narrow naturally. Dennis, can I ask you just to pop those levers there? Oh, look at that. So the two of those move together.
Yes, the two left ones.
Interesting. And that opens up a very, very long space. If I were to look at the back of the seats over there, and then come all the way back here, that's a pretty great distance. In fact, if we got one of those airbed mattresses, you could probably sleep in the car in comfort. So on each of the sides, there's a much deeper recess. In fact, the one on the right is new. Really wasn't there in the Model 3. And we have the one on the left as well, which goes down quite a considerable distance, and it goes out a lot as well. That's surprising. Not quite sure how they made all that extra space, but that's bigger. Can you lift up the removable trunk lid? And there we have the sub-trunk or the lower trunk. It is a lot deeper and more extensive. You could really fit some serious packing into here, or contraband goods as you come through customs. Oh yeah, there we go. And that's the Chartamo adapter fitting below there. Bring the lid down again. That's pretty cool. So the angle of the seats when they flip forward is slightly inclined, and that's much like the Model 3. Looking at the rear seats, of course each one has the individual headrest except for the middle seat. Quite a few people have talked about the additional knee room, so I'm going to sit in here. I've got a good 5 or 6 inches in front of my knees, so this is more spacious. There's no doubt about that. I'm also noticing that on the rear air vents at the back here on the assembly, these are no longer USB-A, but they're USB-C ports. Nothing different on the floor, excepting that you can see there is the ground, and I have to come up 6 inches at least. So there you can see the rail on which the seat is mounted, and you go right down. The floor is a long way below it. That's very different from the Model 3. That speaker shape, the speaker grill might be a little different, but it's still just one speaker in the rear doors. The big difference is that when we look up at the glass roof, it's unbroken. Look at that. There's a real feeling of openness and spaciousness, and Model 3 breaks that with the cross piece. So where are the lights here? There they are. One on that side, one on that side. So there's the light, and there is the coat hook. Turn the light off, soft touch. Very nice. Looking at the front of the car, there really is no difference. The seats are absolutely comfortable, but they're the same seats, and the center console looks the same. Of course, we still have that irritating, shiny black piano-style plastic. Dennis is going to be covering that up pretty soon. The car's only a day old and doesn't have more than about 100 kilometers on the clock. It's just got that wonderful new car smell. So we're going to look inside the front now. Still got the escape button for when your kids lock themselves in the front. It slopes down, although you have a flat piece at the back, and then it slopes and inclines down. This is big. This is definitely an increase. That honeycombed grid up at the top of the lid is gone. So we have a kind of a rubbery seal that probably closes nice and tight. One thing I didn't really notice about the side mirrors, but they're actually taller. Presumably gives you a better view of the road behind you. The sun visor attachment here is magnetic. Clicks into place, it's just magnetic. Not a big difference, but it's just something that they've changed from the Model 3. We still have, right over there, we still have the internal camera. So I'm sitting here with the camera up at my eye height. You do not see the hood. You don't see the front area, which is a little disconcerting just because in the Model 3 I'm used to at least getting a visual sense of where the front of the car is. And here, there's nothing. I'm going to raise it higher. Only now can you see any part of the hood, and I'm holding it about 6 inches above my eyes. Let's go back to eye level. You don't see it. Interesting. So this is the first time I've ever driven a Model Y. It's not the first time I've sat in the Model Y, because I've done that on the showroom floor several times. But driving the Model Y, this is the first for me. We're just going to take it slow at first, but I am very keen, very eager to test the acceleration, given that this is a dual motor performance version. And mine is just a rear wheel drive long range. I think the biggest difference that I'm experiencing here is that I'm sitting so much higher. I'm used to every control, everything around me feels normal, but it's much, much higher than before, and I'm definitely not seeing the hood. I cannot see anything. It's just as if it were never there. Other than that, it feels like the Model 3. I am about to experience a different kind of acceleration, and if I squeal like a little girl, just forgive me. Okay, here we go. Keep in this lane. All right. Oh! Whoa, and it keeps going. It doesn't stop. It just... So from this speed... Oh, goodness. Oh. Elon, take my money. You've done it again. That's an experience that never gets old, never gets tired. This feels just as sure-footed, feels just as solidly connected to the road when you're accelerating, when you're turning. I don't notice any difference. I have seen some reports that people say it tends to roll a little bit more and pitch, but I haven't experienced it here. Let me accelerate into the corner. So there's a little bump in the road over there, and the car squiggled a bit, but that's obvious. We're going to merge here. We'll just cross this magnificent bridge. Oh, it's quite amazing. I mean, we're already going up at a very high rate of speed. Don't film the speedometer.
Nope, I'm making sure it's not on there.
But it just keeps on accelerating. It just keeps on going.
Keeps pulling.
So one other difference in the front cabin here is that when I glance up at the mirror, I'm looking at the rear view mirror with what I think is more restricted. It's wide, but it's narrower that way. And it's not that it's a bad view of the road, it's just a different view from what I'm used to on the 3. So a few little things take some getting used to. But the power of the acceleration, there's no doubting that. This is just a great angle here. You can really appreciate the additional height of the trunk, the additional height of the whole car, in fact. And of course, it's hinged up here, so this is the part where the glass separates. But that gives beautiful, beautiful unobstructed views, and the people in the back seats are the true beneficiaries. So I've asked Dennis to just back out into the road and come and stop next to Red Dragon. This is a very quiet road. There's no possibility of anyone coming, and having said that, of course, probably they will. So he's just going to come and park next to Red Dragon, and then you can kind of see the difference. All right, so let's look at that there. Come across here. Oh, you can see it right away. Let me stand to give you a different view. Oh, it's much taller. Definitely is. Let's go from the side. So that's the tail view, folks. I do like the carbon fiber trim on the back. I'll go from the other side. Yeah, you can see it quite clearly when you put the cars next to each other. Well, I'm just still coming down from the high. That was the experience of driving that car. You gotta remember, I come from the early Model 3s that only came outfitted with the long-range battery and the rear-wheel drive only. So for me to sit in that car, which was a dual-motor performance version, and floor the accelerator, was just unbelievable. It was truly, I squealed like a little girl, and rightly so. It was a great experience. So the question really is, am I going to upgrade? Well, let me answer that first by saying that at the ripe old age of 66, here I sit toward the end of my working life, meaning the end of income, regular income. I'm not retiring yet, and I doubt if I'll even retire by 70, but is it the right thing to add an extra debt obligation at this point in time by selling the Model 3, upgrading, and having to pay more? In other words, would I benefit enough by performing the upgrade? I think let's answer that question by posing the question of whether you should upgrade. So, look, there's a bunch of different categories out there. Number one, people who have no Tesla, and you've been waiting. Wait no longer, folks. The wait is over. The Model Y is the best of the Model 3 and of the Model X rolled into one much more affordable, great car that has a lot of internal space, a lot of storage capacity, and the same great performance and handling metrics as the Model 3 has had. Don't wait any longer. Put your deposit down. This is the one. Now, how about those of you who are Model 3 owners? Perhaps you've had it for a year, perhaps you've had it for 2 years like I have. And the question to you is, should you upgrade? Would you benefit by upgrading? Is it worth it? Well, I don't know your personal circumstances. I mean, you might be filthy rich and money doesn't mean anything to you. You might have 1,000 Tesla shares, in which case, wait till they get to $17.90 again and quickly sell enough to buy a Model Y. But for those of you that have a Model 3, and you've got to weigh up very carefully, is it worth upgrading to the Y? Let me tell you who will not need or want to upgrade. If you're a Model 3 driver, and your family is 2 people, or you're the only one, but let's say 2 people. Your family have grown up, you're not in a position where you need to be constantly carrying kids, you're not a soccer mom or dad, you just drive with yourself and your partner, and that's it. You're happy with the car, you love it, it's low and streamlined, you enjoy everything about it. There's no point in upgrading. Trust me, there's no point. Unless you had the basic rear wheel only and you want to get the performance dual motor, that might be a good reason to upgrade. But if you're totally happy with your 3, you're not going to need to upgrade. Let's address the biggest group of people, and that is the hundreds of thousands of Model 3 owners. Some who, like Dennis, simply got the Model 3 as a placeholder, waiting for the day that the Y would be available. Others who bought the Model 3 because the Model Y was not yet in the offing, it wasn't anything we were considering. But now you've got to say to yourself, do I have kids? Do I carry around a lot of stuff? Do I cart kids to games? Do I carry sporting equipment? Do I buy a lot of stuff from IKEA or Costco and I have to carry it home? See, if you use your car and you're frequently loading up the trunk, and if you have family members and you go on a vacation and everyone wants to bring everything and the Model 3 is not sufficient, go ahead and upgrade to the Y. This is the best alternative, the best car in my opinion, that Elon has made up to this point. If I were doing it over again, let's pretend I had not bought a Model 3. With the current range of models, which one would I get? I'd get the Y. Absolutely no doubt. I'd buy the Y. I think I can conclude by saying, up to this point in time, the Model Y is simply put the best electric vehicle alternative for the average person. What about the Model S and the Model X? Oh, they're great cars. Absolutely no doubt that those two are fantastic vehicles, but they cost a lot. They're not within the reach of the average person. What about the 3? Great car. Does it allow for a lot to be packed into it? Not really. Not if you're honest. Model Y, best overall alternative. This is the one that will take the market by storm. And if you thought the Model 3 made massive inroads, just watch the Model Y. Just watch what happens to it. But can I end by saying this, looking straight into the camera and saying, Elon, hear me on this one. I have 2 daughters, late 20s, very early 30s. They love Tesla. They know what my car's like. They cannot wait to get one of their own, and they will never be able to do it. The price. They're not in a position to spend 50, 60, 70,000 Canadian on a car. The rumors that we've heard about Tesla commissioning a car in China, which is going to be a compact, a sort of a compact city car with a hatchback. If those are true, both of my daughters will hang on for those. They'll not look at the used market. They'll wait for those. Elon, if you can get a car within the 20 to 30,000 US dollar range that has 200 plus miles, still has over-the-air updates, still has access to the supercharging network, still has everything that we've come to associate with what a Tesla is in its essence. If you can get that in a 20 to 30,000 US dollar car, you got 2 customers in each of my daughters. So if you want to really bring electric cars to the masses, even the Y and the 3 are beyond the price range of most people who just buy cars. But that slightly smaller, compact, slightly reduced range city car with a hatchback will be the killer. Game over for all the other manufacturers. And by the way, I just finished watching Zach and Jesse's video, The Osborne Effect, and it's about how Big Auto have been lying to us all. But I can promise you it's a real eye-opener. Zach and Jesse are 2 of the most dedicated Tesla YouTubers anywhere on YouTube. And I know that their offerings are very long. So are mine, by the way, quite often. But this is one you should watch from start to finish. So I'll not say any more about it. I'll just say this comes highly recommended. You'll have your eyes open for you. So thank yous all around today. We just reached 15,000 subscribers. My next hurdle, my next barrier is 20,000. Would you help me get there? If you're watching this and you're not a subscriber, it doesn't take anything to drop down to the subscriber button, tap it, tap notify, and join the family. 15,000 people. I take that as a real privilege, and I work hard on each episode to try and give you the best that I've got. Thank you again to those who are not Patreon supporters, because I don't have a Patreon page, but who donate through PayPal. All the money you donate, however small or large, goes to help me outfit the channel with the equipment I need to continue to be professional and provide you with good content, which has been my goal all along. If you have some spare dollars you can donate now through PayPal, go ahead. I'd love it, and thank you very much for your help. The Model Y has now been included in the referral code system, so get 1,000 miles and 1,500 kilometers of free supercharging by using somebody's referral code when you order your car. Whether it's a Y, X, S, 3, you get those free charging kilometers by using a referral code. I put mine over here. If you prefer to use somebody else's, that's fine, but don't miss out on that opportunity. Once again, thank you for watching this. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode, and stay safe on the road. Look out for yourself. I know Teslas are the safest cars on the road, but we don't want to put that theory to the test, do we? I'll see you next time. Cheers for now.